The Arizona Cardinals are expected to win 7 games in 2020, according to sportsbooks. Should we bet them to win over or under 7 games this year? The answer is coming up in this video. I'm Professor MJ, a University Statistics professor from Canada, and I'm here to help sports investors grow their bankroll. In 2013, 14, and 15, the Cards won at least 10 games in each of those seasons. They followed up with a couple of seasons where they finished close to a 500 record. Things got even worse the past 2 years, where they compiled an 8-23-1 record. Now in year number 2 of head coach Cliff Kingsbury and QB Kyler Murray, it's time for Arizona to make a leap forward. Let's do a position-by-position breakdown on offense. Let's start with quarterbacks. Kyler Murray had a very successful rookie season as Arizona's new franchise quarterback. Despite a suspect surrounding cast, he posted very respectable numbers, with 3,722 passing yards, 20 TDs, and 12 interceptions. And he was also dangerous as a runner, as shown by his 544 rushing yards. Murray was the victim of 48 sacks, but he was still hard to catch. Indeed, he finished in second place in terms of average time from snap to sack among all QBs in the NFL. Now, with 1 full year of experience under his belt, you can expect Murray to take a nice jump and improve his game even more in 2020. Brett Hundley will once again back up Murray this season. The team probably hopes they won't need him because he's not starting material. The former Packer is no more than a number 2 QB in this league. The Cards got a nice bargain last year by trading a 6th-round pick in exchange for Kenyon Drake. He was nothing short of spectacular in his 8 appearances in the desert, by racking up 643 rushing yards, and he also scored 8 TDs in that short period. During the offseason, the Cards re-signed him to an $8.5 million contract. The team also traded David Johnson to Houston, which clearly puts Drake as the starter. Chase Edmonds will be the main backup runner. He showed some nice flashes last year with a nice 5.1 yards per rush average. The third-year pro is a good insurance policy in case Drake gets hurt. Let's move on to the wide receiver position. Kyler Murray probably popped a bottle of champagne when he heard about the acquisition of stud wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins from the Texans. Losing David Johnson in the trade isn't that big of a deal to the Cardinals, who already had good depth at the running back position. However, acquiring a big-time wide receiver like Hopkins is huge. Hopkins has played either 15 or 16 games in each of his first 7 years in the NFL. He has averaged over 1,200 receiving yards per year and close to 8 TDs during that time span. He consistently ranks among the top receivers year in and year out. In 2019, he received an 87.8 grade from PFF, which had him ranked as the 5th best wide receiver in the league. Wow, unbelievable! Larry Fitzgerald is coming back for a 17th season in the NFL. He did better than expected last year by catching 75 passes, and he finished as the 53rd best receiver out of 122 qualifiers according to PFF rankings. Christian Kirk a former second-round pick in 2018, had an okay year. His 62.5 grade from PFF had him ranked as the number 91 wide receiver. With Hopkins drawing a lot of attention from opposing defenses, Kirk must make a leap in 2020, and it remains to be seen if he can do it or not. Arizona lost some depth at the position after seeing Damiere Byrd leave for New England, while Pharoh Cooper signed with Carolina. It's not a huge blow to the team, but still worth mentioning. Let's move on to the tight end position. A young QB like Murray would certainly welcome some help at the tight end position, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. The top target last year was Charles Clay, and he only caught 18 passes, and he's now a free agent. All signs point toward Max Williams assuming the number one role. You'll probably be very surprised to hear that he ranked as the 7th best tight end in the league according to Pro Football Focus. His nice 79.1 grade was largely obtained from outstanding run and pass blocking, but he's not much of a pass catcher. So in summary, the team is pretty thin at the position. Let's now talk about the offensive line. One of the team's biggest weaknesses in 2019 was its offensive line. They allowed the 5th highest number of sacks in the league, despite Murray being a mobile quarterback. The only guy who finished above average based on PFF rankings was Justin Pugh, who finished 22nd among 81 guards, and the other 4 starters were either average or quite bad. The bad news is the team did not address the position in free agency. They did select Josh Jones in the 3rd round of this year's draft though. He has a high chance of becoming the team's starting right guard in 2020, despite many experts calling him a developmental project who needs work. What? I can't believe DJ Humphries is going to be the 3rd highest paid left tackle in the league after signing a hefty contract this offseason. His paycheck is clearly not in line with his production on the field. In 5 years, he has played 43 games while missing 37 due to numerous injuries. He finally played through a full 16-game season last year, but PFF gave him the 47th rank out of 81 tackles. Alright, so let's summarize the 2020 outlook on offense for the Cards. Overall, I expect a nice progression from this unit. Kyler Murray is much more likely to improve than to regress, based on his young age. The running back position is set, and the receiving corps got a gigantic boost with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins. The tight end and offensive line positions remain problematic. However, if you compare with last year, it cannot get much worse. Building the line should be one of the top priorities for Arizona in the upcoming years. So overall, my final call when comparing 2020 with 2019 is that I expect a moderate upgrade. Now, what about the defense? Well, if you want my position by position breakdown, I invite you to go to my website, Professor MJ, for my full write-up. But in this video, I'm only going to go with the summary, since I don't want this video to be too long for you. So let's do this. There are no major changes for this unit, and given that they've allowed the 5th highest number of points last year, that's not good news. The lone position where the Cards have improved is linebacker because of the acquisition of Isaiah Simmons via the draft and Devondre Campbell as a free agent from Atlanta. Or perhaps the couple of young safeties can take a leap? Maybe, maybe not. I feel like it's more wishful thinking than anything else. So to summarize, the team added Jordan Phillips, Devon Kennard, Isaiah Simmons, and Devondre Campbell. But they lost Rodney Gunter, Zach Kerr, Terrell Suggs, Cassius Marsh, and Joe Walker. So to me, those changes offset. Perhaps it will turn out as a small upgrade. But my final call when comparing 2020 with 2019 is I expect similar production, which is not good news. Alright, it's now time to answer the following vital question. Is it best to bet the Cards to win over or under 7 games in 2020? Well, here's the methodology I used in order to answer this question. The sportsbook called betonline.ag has posted odds on all 256 regular season games. Now, it's easy to convert those point spreads into win probabilities. So I used a statistical software called R to simulate each of the 256 games following those win probabilities. So I came up with final standings for one simulated year by doing so. But why stop there? I proceeded to simulate 1 million years, and I counted the number of times Arizona won more than 7 games and the number of times they won less than 7 games. And here are the results of this huge statistical analysis. If you exclude the simulated years where the Cards won exactly 7 games, the over won 53.1% of the time, while the under won the remaining 46.9% of the time. Now I looked at the odds from 13 well-known online sportsbooks on May 18. Now the best line I found on the over was with the bookie called 10bet, and those odds were minus 110 in American format. If you're more familiar with decimal odds, that's 1.91. Now the best line I found on the under was with William Hill at plus 110 or 2.1 in decimal odds. Now I'm not going to dive into the mathematical details, but based on those probabilities and those odds, the return on investment, the ROI, on the over at minus 110 odds is plus 1.4%, while the ROI on the under turns out to be minus 1.5%. So, my final betting tip is to bet the over. However, notice that the plus 1.4% ROI is the 32nd highest among the league's 32 teams. In other words, this is the worst betting option I found on win totals. For your information, the minimum odds required to bet here are minus 113. That's based on our chance of winning, which is 53.1%. So you should not bet if you are getting odds that are worse than minus 113. In this case, we get minus 110 at 10bet, which is pretty close. So honestly, I don't recommend to bet at such odds. I might get interested in betting the over if the odds are at least plus 110. That's my own personal advice. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video previewing the 2020 season for the Arizona Cardinals. Tomorrow I'll be talking about the team whose ROI is 31st in the NFL. and the day after that, I'm going to go over the team whose ROI is 30th, and so forth. So I've got a lot of great stuff coming up for you. A big thank you for watching. I'm Professor MJ, a University Statistics Professor from Canada. I'll see you in another video.